Well, good Tuesday every morning, everybody. Had quite a rainy morning this morning, so I'm down here working on cabin 2, and it is a sloppy mess down here, but gotta keep moving forward. So that's the plan today. We're gonna start getting things done here on cabin 2, and yeah, making it happen. Hopefully, we're gonna miss most of the rain and stuff. But let me show you what I got going on right now, and we'll get into it. Well, first off, I had to separate my lumber a little bit. I've got these are my 16-footer 2x6s and some 8-foot 2x6s there. That's primarily going to be the joists and the rim joists for the floor. So then I've got my subfloor under here. That's at the Advantech subfloor. And then this here and this left over here is all pressure treated. The pressure treated stuff is what's going to make up my skids. Okay, so I was down here a little bit ago. I got the brackets. Brackets are all lined up and everything. Everything seems to be great. I took some measurements in between them, and it looks just fantastic. So I've kind of started a little bit here. So how these skids get put together. The length of this skid is going to be 20 feet. Okay, so I've got a 12-foot and a 8-foot that's going to butt up against each other. But to assemble this, you put a 12, an 8, a 12, and then another 8. That gives me my 6 inches here and throughout, and then that also spreads the load between those different size pieces of lumber. So let's see what else we got going. Yeah, so that's it. So I'll nail these together, and then we'll start. I usually don't trim the boards until it's finally done, then I make a final cut at the end to make it 20 overall feet. So let's get moving.
Right, something a little bit of quick and dirty here with this skid. Went just fine. It was just super mucky and muddy in this area. I'm sliding all over the place. Tools falling down. It was just a mess. But this is in here. So now I have not really secured these brackets in. You can see this bracket's got a couple big holes and a couple little ones. So this is what it's gonna look like once I get those nails into all those little holes. Plus I also put some 1/2-inch bolts through the entire skid and bolt them on the other side. So that's kind of what they'll look like. I'm gonna wait until I get the other skid done here in a minute, and then I'll start taking some measurements to see if anything has to move. But right now I've got almost exactly 17 inches off of this end from this bracket to the end as I do the other end. So we'll get to working on the other skid now, and I'd like to get that done before lunch, so let's go. All right, guys, just about ready to head up the hill for lunch, and just was able to knock this other skid out rather quickly. Everything worked out well. I'm going to bring some other nails down. I've got to nail in the brackets like I showed you earlier. Plus I want to run the bolts through, so I got to bring my drill down, drill out those holes, and get the bolts in. It's at that point then I can start making the joists, the floor frame and everything. So yeah, everything went well. Was 3/30 seconds off on my bracket. I mean that I'm okay with that. So everything worked out well. Got to keep moving. All right, guys, next part of this evolution, we got to put these bolts. We got to put these bolts through these larger holes here to kind of lock these into the brackets. Now, I've already put in the 6 nails into the bracket, so I'm really not required to put in these bolts through the bracket, but it's just a couple bolts, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I got a 1/2 inch. These are 1/2 inch bolts. I got a 1/2 inch bit, so it makes it a little tight. So I kind of have to, I have to drill from both sides because this won't go all the way through. So I got to do some rooting around and stuff and pull out as much wood as I can so these slide through.
All right, now those holes are drilled. Let's see how easy or difficult these are to get through. And here's what we got on the other side. All right, so now I put another washer on, a lock washer, and then a nut. And just like that, I tighten them down and we move on. All right, guys, just got done putting all those bolts through. Not really any issues at all with that. Pretty simple process. Just kind of knocking them through, getting them on there. So next on the agenda, I'm going to start taking my 2x6s over there. They are 16 footers, so I need to cut them down. So I'm going to start bringing over the floor joists over here and cutting them to length. So that's probably the next logical thing to do in this process. I managed to get those cut without too much of a hassle. So all of those ends that came off, they will all be used for blocking in between the joists. So right now I'm going to start lining these up. I need to kind of look down them, make sure the crown is up, and then might actually start nailing on a rim joist here if things go as planned. So now on this layout, my rim joist, which is right here, I've grabbed an 8-foot piece, cut it to 8 foot. Again, it was probably 8 3/4 inches, something like that, 8 foot and 3/4 inches. So it's got to be chopped down. So I need it to be really 8 feet long, because I have an 8-foot piece here, and then I'll have a 12-foot piece down there that'll go to the other end. On the opposite side, over on this side, I'll have an 8-foot piece up here, and then a 12-foot piece down on this end. So that's kind of how that works to kind of offset it. So I utilize my skid here to actually set this up. So now that it's on here and it's upright, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark my 16 inches along that 8-foot board, and then I can line up those joists to fall within those marks. I'm going to show you how I mark these out. So this end joist obviously comes all the way down to the end of the rim joist. But then as you move up, so I make a line, I make a mark. So I do 15 1/4. Wait a minute, that's not right. Yeah, 15 1/4. So that's where it is. So to get that 16 inch on center, I'd mark it at 15 1/4. And then I put an X, because I know the 2x4 or the joist has to be on this side of that line. That's just how I do that. So I do that the whole way up. I could mark the other side of the joist too, but I mean, there's no reason to for me. So that's just how that goes. And then this one here, once the 8-foot runs out, obviously this rim joist here, I will split half of this joist, and the 12-foot will butt up against this. Now, how I've done this for the other cabins, so what I'll do, I'll go ahead and nail these in right now, and then work on the 12-foot section down there. So when it comes time to work on the other side, Rebecca will have to come out and help me. So we'll pull this whole section just straight across onto this side, so it sticks over. You can see this side sticks over 3 feet or so. So we'll pull that to the left as you're looking at it here until the ends are just about in the middle of that skid. So I can do the same thing with the rim joist on that side.
Now sometimes if I do have a warped board, if it twists, I'll check to make sure it's square, straight up and down.
Okay, I just cut the 12-foot length part of the rim joist, so I've got it laid out right there. And I measured the entire thing, and it came right out to 20 feet. So that's, you know, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm now going to go along and mark the space for the joint on that new 12-foot piece, or space for the joist. Yeah, you know. Okay, now that all those are marked out, I can go ahead and start nailing in the rim joist into the joist. Now that I have that rim joist completely attached to each of the joists, I would normally wait for Rebecca, but it's 5:20. She's not down here yet, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to try and just kind of inch this thing back by myself, just kind of going section at a time. So we'll see how it goes. It dropped off the other end down there. I didn't want that. Tried to push it from the other side a little bit. That didn't seem to be any better, really. Looks like I only got to go about another 6 more inches or so. All right, that's got it. Let's get on the other side. Now for this side here, this first board, because it was 8 foot on the other side, this first board here is going to be a 12-footer, and then an 8-footer will be the furthest one. So I'm going to get that down there, mark where the joist locations are supposed to be, and then we'll start to nail. Well, just finished up this rim joist here on this side. Everything went pretty well. Nothing really crazy to speak of. I do have a couple joists. Where's that one? It's really kind of wonky. Maybe it's this one here. Yeah, it's just got a little bow in it. And but everything else, you know, you got some twists and stuff. You can kind of force it to kind of straighten out after a while. But you know, there's going to be some blocking that's going to go in between these joists, and then that'll help get it even straighter. So that's where we're going to leave it today. I just did a rough square on it, measuring some distances out from the skids out to the front. So it's creepily, if that's a word, accurate as so I don't know. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. I don't know. So we'll pull some diagonals on it to really get it square, and then we will secure it down to the skids. I think I have some hurricane straps or something that I put under there. Well, guys, it's straight up 6 o'clock. It's time for me to pack on up and get the hell up the hill. So listen, if you're hanging out, watching my stuff, I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, so that's it. Subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. We'll see you on the next one.